Well, thank you all for coming today. We have the opportunity to introduce you to something that we believe is a very exciting project. I don't know how many of you have already seen these. Who already owns a Goldback? Already has some Goldbacks. Okay, that's a bunch. Good. Well,
You mean before tonight?
right. Yeah, I guess I did mean before tonight. But tonight, we are hoping that all of you will get at least 4 more Goldbacks, though I do have more than that here, so that you can then go out and spend them. So we're going to talk a little bit about tonight about Goldbacks, but also just about money and the purpose of money. So what is money? This is one of the things that most of us just don't spend enough time to think about. Most of us are familiar with, how to count change or something, but what is it really? Money has to serve a purpose, and the purpose of money is to be a medium of exchange. There are 4 basic purposes of money. It has to be a measure of value, a medium of exchange. It has to be fungible, which means interchangeable amounts. So, for example, you can make change in it, and then it also has to be recognized. So, throughout history, there've been a lot of different kinds of money. Okay, different systems people used in order to make exchanges. All the way down to these crazy-looking stones here. They're called the rye stones. They're a famous kind of money right now because in Micronesia, they actually use these gigantic stone coins, which obviously you couldn't exchange. What they did was they would change who was listed as the owner. So this was actually the very first form of using a ledger for money. Now,
first anti-theft.
Yeah, it was an anti-theft coin for sure. You're not going to move that around. And part of the purpose of that was that it was the first time people used a ledger as money. The real money, the real value, wasn't just the stone. It was the fact that you owned it, that you were the one listed as the owner. And that's basically what a bank is. That in basic form is what a bank is today. We imagine that the bank maybe has a big safe filled with money. It doesn't. A bank only is a record-keeping thing. It's a file that says we've written down a certain number that is associated with your special bank account number that is associated with your name. That's all it is. That's what a bank is. And it's basically these rye stones. Then, of course, you've got currency, which moves things around as a form of value. And I've got an actual piece of what used to be currency, which is that gold and silver were the real money, but you had to have a coupon that would show that you actually had some value that was associated with you. That's what this is. We now call them a silver certificate. It looks like a dollar bill to people now. They go, oh, it's $1. No, this is a coupon for $1. A real dollar was the silver. And so at the very bottom here, it doesn't just say $1. It says $1 in silver is payable to the bearer on demand. So it was just a coupon. Now, we've unfortunately changed things up a little bit so that now, say, well, what's the difference between this one and this one? This one is a coupon for silver. This one's a coupon for nothing. Nothing, right? Or basically it's debt. It says that the United States has created this debt, and now you can trade this around for other debt. Most people don't realize that our money is, a fiat currency is sort of backed by something. It's backed by the debt of the United States, more or less. And that means if you were to pay it back, it's destroyed. This is one of the reasons why the national debt keeps growing, because that's how they grow the monetary supply, essentially. So these are the different types of things people have used as money. People have gold ingots or gold coins. In the Western world, not the rye stones, of course, that's the Polynesians, but the Knights Templar were one of the first people to create a ledger system so that you could do something called write a check, more or less. They could write down that a certain amount of the gold that was in their coffers would now belong to a different person without moving the gold around. They could just move around notes about the gold, and that's what led to currency. So that's kind of a history of mechanisms we're using. But if you think about it, all of these mechanisms create liabilities. All of them have their pros and their cons. And what we're trying to do at Goldback is something new, something that tries to solve a lot of the different cons that come out of money. So what are the different types? You can trade things, you can have currency notes, you can have fractional reserved currency notes, fiats, cryptos, alternatives, tokens. Is anybody here old enough to have ever seen a bus token?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bus tokens. All right. Bus tokens are basically a kind of money, right? It was good. It was a money that was redeemable for a ride on the bus, right?
Stamp.
A postage stamp. We've all used postage stamps, right? Okay, maybe the young people still haven't even used postage stamps. Everything's so electronic. But we've all probably seen postage stamps. It's basically a form of money. It's a form of money that's good for moving a letter around. And so all of those things, though, they have their limitations. Bus tokens, low value, no intrinsic value, only redeemable for rides on the bus. Unless you need a lot of rides on the bus, you don't need a lot of bus tokens, for example. Fiat is what we have now. It has various failings, such as the fact that its value, since its value is not actually attached to anything that exists, it's kind of has a fiat value, meaning that someone has said this has value, but how much value depends on a market. It's not very clear. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody wants to pay me a whole bunch of these fiat notes in exchange for real gold, I do that, right? That's how our company functions. Because it has utility, but it doesn't have intrinsic value. And so what am I going to do? When people buy Goldbacks from me with fiat notes, what do? I buy gold immediately with that money so that we can then manufacture the Goldbacks. So I'm getting ahead of myself. The problem is that centralization creates inflation. Once you centralize all of the control within the hands of a few people, like, for example, the Board of the Federal Reserve, or the President Ataturk, this is the guy who was President of Turkey, or the Weimar Republic, or any of these. In fact, I've got $100 trillion right here.
Zimbabwe.
$100 trillion issued by the Central Bank of Zimbabwe. I actually got this one from Joshua.
Local bread.
$100 trillion. What's it worth, though? Not much. You'd think $100 trillion you could buy, a whole aircraft carrier and half of the state of Utah and all kinds of things with $100 trillion. But no, this is worth like, I don't know, a few cents, something like that. Basically.
A few cents, yeah.
Right? Now I'm going to pass these around so you can look at them. On one side of my little bill protector, I've got the silver certificate. On the other side, you can see that. They're both just in that container. But I just didn't want to wear them out. But go ahead and take a look at that. There's a reason why centralization and fiat always leads to inflation. Because it's built into the system. It's the only way that it can function. It must function this way. Because if they were to eliminate the debt, they would have eliminated the money supply. Every time someone pays back a federal treasury note, for example, you've all heard about the 10-year T-note, right? The federal government issues these debt instruments. Whenever those get paid off, it wipes out that many dollars from existence. So it's built into them that they have to either grow or shrink. They really can't shrink, otherwise they will bankrupt the government that issues them. So, for example, these pictures from the Weimar Republic, this is between World War I and World War II in Germany, and this is one of the major precipitating causes, by the way, for the Second World War. They put an autocrat like Hitler in charge. I mean, they elected him. And in history, we look back and we say, what an irrational choice. Why would you want a genocidal maniac in charge of your country? But they made that choice rationally, is the scariest thing. Because he was the only one who was ready to say, I'm going to stand up to the whole world, and I'm going to get them off our backs. Their currency inflated through the roof because they had to pay damages on World War I, war reparations. And war reparations could only be paid in precious metals because they knew that the Central Bank of Germany didn't have the funds to pay. And so they absolutely crushed the entire economy of Germany. Now, the Great Depression was a hard time for the entire world's financial markets, but it was worse in Germany. It was horrific. And so they wanted somebody who I don't think they cared so much about morality at that point. They wanted somebody who would be strong enough to stand up to the central banks, to the international banking community, and say, no more, we're done. And if you don't like it, too bad. And guess what? We're just going to conquer your country anyway. And then you're going to be on our system, because we're not going to play with your system anymore. Because that system had led to this runaway inflation. Now, there are much more recent examples, like that $100 trillion from Zimbabwe we're passing around. That's pretty recent. That happened just in the last decade to Zimbabwe. And the fear is, could that happen here? And the answer is, actually, it has to happen here. We don't know how fast. We don't know when. But it's built into the system that if the monetary supply does not grow, the monetary system will collapse because it's a fiat system. And that's why they say a fiat currency will always fail eventually.
Are you okay with
Yeah,
questions?
please.
What's the lifespan?
What's the
Of a-
lifespan of a fiat currency? So some of
On
them
average,
really
I
only
mean-
last a couple of decades. A lot of them last about 50 years. That's pretty average. We actually, tellingly, are about 50 years out from when we got rid of the silver certificate that I'm passing around and completely decoupled and created a fiat dollar. So we're actually only about 50 years in. That's pretty average for the lifespan. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right now necessarily, but it's a pretty good indicator, Maureen.
Benjamin, I don't really understand why a dollar bill would go away when the national debt, a dollar's worth is still.
So
Explain the life cycle of
the life
dollar
cycle
bill
of a dollar.
better.
Okay, so first of all, the main thing to understand is that it's really not about the bill. In fact, less than 3% of all of the dollars, so-called dollars, in existence actually have a cash representation of that dollar. The vast majority of the dollars in existence exist as bank ledgers. So it's just written down somewhere that this dollar exists. This is probably one of the things I remember finding just soul crushing to me personally when I bought a home for the first time. I went into this bank. They went through all my personal life to find out if I was worthy of being given this huge sum of money so that I could own a home. And of course, even with a 30-year mortgage, I could barely make that payment. You know what I mean? It being almost half of my income had to go to this. And I was like, wait a second, 30 years? It's like the rest of my working life. I'm going to be giving half or so of everything I create, everything I do in my life is going to be dedicated to paying off this debt. And then I thought, well, but where does this huge amount of value come from? The mortgage officer. When they said, guess what? Congratulations, you're approved. And then he went like this, boop, 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 on his computer. And magically, that created all the money that I was borrowing out of thin air by him typing in those numbers. And that's why they talk about the interest rates that the Fed is setting. And for example, they say they're going to raise those rates this month. That's what that's about, is how much does the mortgage officer have to pay back to the Federal Reserve for typing those keystrokes in. Now, the thing is that the way it's created is that the federal government issues debt in the form of those like treasury bonds and so forth. And then there's a certain amount of dollars issued into circulation through things like getting a mortgage, then go into circulation based on how much debt was issued by the US government. So if the US government were to pay off its debt, there would be no dollars. So those dollars are debt coupons against the full faith and credit, is the way they call it, of the United States government. In other words, they are instruments that say that you are entitled to a certain amount of money from the Treasury. And then that Treasury, of course, if it ever were to pay off its debts, would then be eliminating the value of those dollars. And in which case, yes, if we actually got to the point where we destroyed over 98% of all dollars in existence, they would actually have to start destroying the cash notes upon which that is given. But that's pretty much irrelevant, because 98% or so of all dollars in existence don't actually have a physical note that represents them. It's only a bank ledger. It is. And when you think about the premium, people want to talk about premiums. Think about the premium on a dollar. Bryson and I were figuring that out. the other day. It's astronomical. It's unbelievable. Basically, it costs them maybe 10 or 15 cents to print $100 bill. So, and most of the time they don't even bother printing it, like I said. So, so there's a huge markup on the value that you hold in your hand, and it's not recoverable. It's wasted.
I figured out that on a $5 bill, after you get the cost into consideration, it's about a 4,800%.
4,800% increase is what they're making on that. Yeah.
So I think I read in a magazine that to print $100 bill is actually like 2 cents.
Yeah, the one I looked up said it was more like 10 cents, but yeah, it's insignificant compared to the value. Makes a little difference. Now here's the thing: people say, let's go back to the gold standard. I wish it was that simple. People imagine when they say, let's go back to the gold standard, they imagine, let's just go into the Federal Reserve and there's probably a big switch on the wall and we pull the switch and poof, we're back at the gold standard. No, it cannot work that way. And gold actually has some serious downsides. For example, a US minted gold coin right now goes for $2,000 to $2,200 if you want possession of that physical gold coin. And what if you want to move a huge sum of money? This one was fun, was that the Central Bank of Poland wanted their gold actually delivered. They didn't want it in some other country's vaults. And so they said, well, let's move our gold into our own vaults. They spent millions and millions of dollars just moving those billions of dollars worth of gold. And this is an image of the inside of one of the planes and things like that. But don't forget all the people that it took to move that. You need all these police escorts. You can't have, you can't have $100 million of gold going down the road with an escort, right? I mean, the last thing you want is somebody springing that safe open. And then you have to fly in planes and whatnot. And it's about $800,000. The one that he's holding, this bar that he's holding with 2 hands, is about $800,000 of gold. That's crazy expensive, right? And that's why you got to hold it with 2 hands too, by the way. That sucker's heavy. That's one of the things that I think we often don't realize about just the weight, the density of gold. When you hold it in your hand in any large quantity, you go, oh my goodness. So in our vaults at Alpine Gold, we have monster boxes of gold eagles. That's these coins here from the US Mint. And each monster box is 500 of these coins. And that's about $1 million worth. And so, and you pick up that box, it's this big, this plastic case. You're like, holy crap, it might not look that big, but that sucker is heavy. This is also an interesting reminder. If anybody here plays video games, and there's always like gold pieces in your video game, and they're like, this is big, 10,000 gold pieces. Well, now that I know what that weighs, I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Do you know what I mean? Like, the adventurer in your game is running down there and he's got this little pouch. He's got this little pouch with this little pocket and he's like, 10,000 gold. I'm like, are you kidding me? You need like several pickup trucks and they better have good shocks. Do you know what I mean? To move 10,000 gold pieces. Anyway, but so that's kind of one of the problems with precious metals too, is that we can't just go back to a gold standard rate easily, right? It's complicated. And on top of that, what do? Even one gold coin is too valuable to actually make a transaction with. You still have to break it down into smaller pieces. But that's what the Constitution says. The Constitution is explicit about what money is. And unfortunately, the Federal Reserve isn't it. The Constitution says that Congress has power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. So we can call it what we want, and a foreign coin, and to fix the standard of weights and measures. In other words, there should be one standard. If you've got $1, it should be the same everywhere, right? And then, interestingly, a state. It says no state shall coin money or emit bills of credit or make anything but gold and silver coin and tender in payment of debts. In other words, even a state doesn't have power to issue a fiat currency, which is what are called bills of credit. That's basically what a fiat currency is, bills of credit. They can only make gold and silver coin payment for debts. Well, on the bright side, Utah has done so. Utah has passed a legal tender act, which it recognizes that gold and silver are legal tender in the state of Utah. And that was the inspiration for Goldback to create something new. So when that law passed, the Legal Tender Act, we only had those US minted coins that would count as legal tender. And what are you going to buy with $2,000 at once? I mean, you could buy a used car maybe, but it better not be a $3,000 used car. It better be either a $2,000 used car or a $4,000 used car, because you can't make change for anything smaller than that.
Yeah. Pieces of 8.
Yeah, or you could cut it in half, and but then
Then
which
its
half is the
value goes
heavier
down.
half? Which half is the bigger half? And the value goes down because then we can't
It's not
guarantee
pretty.
its amount.
That's,
It's a big problem. So what have we done? We've tried to fix all of those problems with the Goldbacks. The idea is they're real money because they really are made of gold. This isn't just printed, it's actual gold. It's just a very thin coin. It's easy to exchange. You can pull it out of your wallet and count it out on the counter and just trade it for goods or services. It's just as thin as currency, which has its advantages too. You think about I was just talking about the weight of gold, or even silver. Let's say we were to do silver instead of these Goldbacks. And I'm a big fan of silver, I am. But it gets heavy fast. It gets heavy really fast. What you want is something with the greatest value in the tiniest possible space. And that's one of the reasons why we're using the Goldbacks. It's not fiat because its value isn't determined by a government saying it has value. It has value because it's made out of real gold. And that gives you an alternative, which is also valuable because it means freedom. The freedom to buy and sell is baked right into the system itself. You don't have to worry about anybody else messing with it because nobody has control over it. In fact, not even Goldback Inc. has any control over the value of this currency. We manufacture it, yes. But if we were to go out of business tomorrow, it would still be gold. You don't have to trust us that it's really gold either. It's been weighed and measured and melted down by multiple third parties as well to verify its gold content. Yes, sir.
Like what's like the worth? Like a one Goldback is worth $3.83 gold, but if
Uh-huh.
you trade it out, it'd be $1 or $3.
So that's the interesting point. Because the dollar isn't stable, and that's what we've been talking about with inflation and stuff like that, the value of these is always going to change relative to the dollar, at least a little bit. Now, they've been more stable than I expected, in the sense that the dollar's been more stable than I expected. But right now, one Goldback is worth $3.91. It is actually a record high right now. $3.91 is the exchange rate for one Goldback. And gold has been going up this week, and partly for news out of Ukraine and Russia with their conflicts, probably also based on the fact that a lot of our financial markets are in crisis. Here's one of the interesting things to point out, and I didn't make a slide for, but in order to stop the protests in Ottawa, in Canada, one of the things they did was they seized the assets without judicial process
scary stuff.
for millions of dollars. Basically, they were like, if we shut down the entire economy of anybody who's involved in this in any way, anybody who's donated anything, if we shut off all payments, then people will have to go home because they won't be able to buy food, they won't be able to do anything. But they did it without judicial process. They literally stole millions and millions of dollars from people in order to shut down the protests.
Civil asset forfeiture, what do they even call that?
I think they called it freezing their accounts.
An emergency.
It was emergency tools is what they called it. So no, they didn't even have a formal name for it in that sense. They said, we have to use the tools at our disposal. And their best legal justification, I am an attorney, by the way, that I heard them say was it was about right of association. That they choose not, that their banks simply chose not to associate with those customers.
Oh my.
Of course, don't forget, the IRS calls you customers too. And that's not a voluntary relationship.
There's like a government tantrum.
Yeah. Now here's another interesting thing that could lead to this, though. Even none of us want to see war in Europe, one of the things they've done for sanctions is shut Russia out of the SWIFT system. What does that mean? It means this very similar thing. It means that their banks can't talk to other banks. Now, technically, that's fine if there's an actual free market where people can choose to associate or not to associate. We've built a system where not associating means there's no money. And so if we get to the point where anybody wants to mess with your bank account, it's become shockingly and unsettlingly and unconstitutionally and illegally, honestly, easy for them to just say, sorry, we just didn't want to do business with you. And if the Federal Reserve banking system decides they just don't want to do business with you, it becomes extremely difficult to make a transaction. So this provides an alternative. For that reason, I expect crypto to skyrocket as well, because Ukraine, for example, is having troubles because they're being interfered with Russia, and Russia's having troubles because they're being interfered with by the rest of the world. They're both turning to Bitcoin because Bitcoin offers them a method and a system of decentralization where no government has the power to just shut them off. Yes, sir?
How important would you say non-fungibility non-fungibility is, like the NFTs?
So yeah, NFTs are almost like the exact opposite of money, right? One of the primary attributes of money is fungibility. If you give me 51 Goldbacks, I'll make change for the 50 Goldback, or any of these are totally interchangeable. That's what's called fungibility. Non-fungible tokens in crypto that you're bringing up means something totally different. Basically what they're saying is they realized that you could use the blockchain technology that's used to power crypto as a currency in a totally new way. Instead of having it be fungible, having it be non-fungible. We say, we're going to create a unique code and a unique token that will instead register ownership. And I think the best way to describe non-fungible tokens is to think of it more like intellectual property rights. It's like a patent or a copyright. You associate something of digital existence usually, but it can be something that's physical. You can issue a token that says, whoever owns this code owns this water bottle. And then you could sell it, and it can change hands, but the blockchain will keep track of who owns the object in the physical world as well. So yeah, the purpose for that is mostly for unique things, so that they can have a specific way of verifying your ownership. So for example, the beginning of our my slideshow here, we have a logo for Goldback, right? That is a registered trademark. That logo. What does that mean? That means that we've basically entered a ledger where we've said non-fungibly, we own this thing. And if anyone else wants to use it, they either owe us money or we have to sell it to them, the right to use this image. And that's basically what they're doing at the trademark office, is they're doing a non-fungible token. The difference is that that's, again, it's fiat. It's a fiat non-fungible token issued by a government, is what a registered trademark is, or a patent. Whereas a non-fungible token on the blockchain is therefore decentralized through that system so that no government, for example, can interfere with it or seize it. So anyways, I hope that answers the question about what fungibility versus non-fungibility.
So what does your bullet mean, crypto friendly?
Yeah, so one of the things that's great with the Goldbacks is that we are hoping that we will be able to create a token that you can exchange these for, a crypto token that will be a 1 Goldback token will be good for 1 Goldback physical interchangeability. The other reason why it's somewhat crypto friendly is as an alternative currency system, exactly the same as crypto, it is a decentralized system, which is the purpose, the goal of cryptography, is to create a decentralized system where no single entity can mess with it or alter it, right? These also have the same thing. When you have them in your wallet, you are essentially like a crypto node in that network. It makes it possible for you to be one of the verifiers of its value, because you have some and other people have some, and then it's simply exchanging. So it's about decentralization mostly. Yeah.
Like no matter what value the dollar is, one Goldback would be like one crypto.
Well, if we create a crypto token for this, it will be denominated in this value. Because again, that's one of the other 4 functions of money, is as a measure of value. Goldbacks are a useful measure of value, by the way, because for millennia, the value of gold has been relatively stable, which means that 1 Goldback, the smallest thing that we could make out of gold, this is only 1,000th of a trounce. It takes 1,000 of these to be one of those U.S. minted gold double eagles. Is worth less than $4, right? So what can you buy for less than $4? I don't know, a sandwich, a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, something like that. That means that even if we get to the point where we have $100 trillion bills that won't buy you so much as a piece of candy, this will still buy you, doesn't it, a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, a dozen eggs, whatever. It will still be roughly the same actual value in the marketplace.
Gallon of gas.
Yeah, about a gallon of gas probably at the rate we're going, yeah. You know what I mean? And so actually there's a fun one for you. I've been joking about dollar stores. We need to get a Goldback store where everything's one Goldback, and then they wouldn't have the problem that the dollar store's having right now. The dollar stores are all going out of business because or raising their prices beyond $1, which makes them not a dollar store. Right? Because a dollar's just not worth anything. But how about a gas station? I love that idea. Let's do a gas station where every gallon is a Goldback. And guess what? That would probably be relatively stable. What's not as stable is the value of the price of oil. And that might make it trickier. But the value of $1 is very, very stable. And so this way, it can be in your pocket, you can spend it, okay? So it happens quick. It's decentralized, it's stable. That's why we believe that essentially the Goldback offers solutions to monetary problems that have existed for thousands of years that have never been solved in this way. All right.
Okay, this is just a inquiry minds want to know question. What state is Goldback getting the gold from to make this? Are they getting it in Utah or some other state? Do you know?
We are getting gold from a multitude of places. This is a very complicated question, actually. Anyone who buys or purchases or moves or uses any form of gold is tapping into a system where that gold has been in circulation for literally thousands and thousands of years. Now, there's new gold that's mined, that's true, but when it enters the system of gold, it almost always gets mixed up with the other gold. People melt down gold and put it into a big bar. Then they put that into coins. Then they melt that down and put it into other coins or other forms. The gold that we buy, of course, comes out of that system. So yeah, the gold in your Goldback could be from ancient Egypt. It could have been from ancient Greece. It could have crossed the Alps. It could come out of a mine in Nevada, which produces most of the new gold that goes into our system.
Somebody's wedding ring?
Yes, even your wedding ring. If you've got a wedding ring, it could be pirate treasure. You know what I mean? Now, once again, it's probably not 100% any of those things. It might be, a few flakes of it come from this source, and a few flakes of it come from that. And so, yeah, it's a wide variety of places. Here is another interesting hint, though, that you're leading me to want to give you. To manufacture Goldbacks, we want to buy gold so long as we can get pure gold at the cheapest prices we can get, refine it down to 24 karat, make sure that it's the right purity. But we want to get the cheapest gold we can get to manufacture, obviously, right? Well, the cheapest way to get gold has generally been gold shot, which is basically the buying of gold in great, huge quantities as basically little nuggets that come from a refinery that refines them to the right purity. We used to buy a lot of our gold shot from Dillon Gage, which is one of the authorized distributors for the U.S. Mint. Okay, so they're well connected. They can get gold from anywhere in the world at a moment's notice, and then they can refine it and verify its purity and make this gold shot, and we can buy it from them pretty close to spot, which, by the way, is a terrible measure of the value of gold, if you know anything about gold, because it basically is supposed to mean the price that you can actually get physical gold. Nobody can get physical gold that cheap. It's very much manipulated to keep it as low as possible, but we can get it pretty close to spot if you're buying $1 million at a time in this gold shop, more or less, right? Then you can get the price almost down to that little. Well, guess what? Dillon Gage, which again is one of the best connected gold suppliers on the planet, doesn't have any gold shots. We're currently buying gold ingots with their verified weight and purity to manufacture on the Goldbacks because they can't even get gold shot. Now that's an indicator to me that gold is going to go up because they can't suppress the price artificially forever when the supply is clearly not there for manufacturing purposes. So yeah, problems with money. If I go all the way back up to the different types of money and this image, there are downsides to each of these. You can't move those around. You could mess with the ledger. You don't want to have to move all the gold coins. That's terrible. So what they do, they created checks and ledgers and banking. But that led to fractional reserving, which led to fiats, which led to all kinds of other problems. So None of those systems that have existed can do what the Goldback can do. It can be not a promise for money, not a ledger that says maybe there's value somewhere. It's just in your hand. It's in your pocket. And so we really believe that that makes it a solution to all kinds of problems. Yes, ma'am.
Theoretically speaking, could you melt one of these down and have real?
Yes, in fact, not just theoretically speaking, we do it every day. Now, we don't normally want people melting down Goldbacks.
No.
The reason why we melt down Goldbacks is because anytime we measure it wrong, or we cut it wrong, or it wears out, or on the edge of the sheets, this is a consistent sheet of gold all the way to the edge, which means we have to create gold that goes beyond the edges. And so we've got, all of this extra gold. We don't throw that away. We melt it down. We get the gold back out, and we make new Goldbacks out of it. So yeah, it can be done. I wouldn't recommend you try it at home. If in a proper crucible, the polyester coating that keeps the gold safely intact inside this container will vaporize at a lower temperature than the gold melts. And then you can get your pure gold out in a pure form. But if you just take a lighter to it, the plastic will melt, and you'll have a bunch of little gold flakes, and it'll be very hard to use.
Just wanted to add, so it's a very good question, a lot of people ask that. The Goldback, anytime you're putting energy into something and you're making it very usable and you're adding features to it, then it's worth more, right? And so, you could melt your car down, you could take it down into scrap. It could be about $300 worth of material.
But I bet your car's worth more than $300 right
Yeah,
now.
no one's gonna do that,
In the
right?
form
If
it's
your
in.
car has like some real features to it that pile of scrap will give you. And so the same thing, if you had the gold that was assayed or melted down, it is just a small, like a one Goldback, it is just the tiniest little flake. I mean, if you didn't lose it, you could keep track of it. You'd have to convince somebody that was actually gold and it was worth something, right?
And how would they know if they don't have a lab,
Yeah, and so that's why the Goldback is so great, because it's serialized. It's got anti-counterfeiting features. And it's something that you can actually have trust in and use it
as a currency. Exactly, and so that's the thing. Yeah, you could melt it down and make earrings or a ring out of it, things like that. But you wouldn't want to do that because you destroy its value. Its value is that in these guaranteed exact amounts, it's now fungible. That's what makes it so useful. Yes, sir.
So when you melt it down, what happens to the printing?
Oh, it would turn into a gas, essentially. It would blow away.
Isn't technically Goldback in the form that it is, technically a little bit more expensive than actually the gold, the amount of weight, the amount of weight
Right.
that's gold that
So
is.
yeah, this is kind of the how do we make our money question, right? At Goldback, I was just saying we want to buy this gold shot. We might buy $1 million worth of this gold shot, and then we transform it into these. That's not easy. So yeah, obviously we can't sell you this for the price of gold shot. It has to be worth more. Now, fortunately, the market says that it is. The market simply says that it is. So if I go to goldback.com, first thing you're going to see is the exchange rates. It's 391 today. That exchange rate is determined partly by the value of the gold, because it is made out of gold, but it's also determined by the market value of it. If you were to search, say, for gold coins, you'll notice that there's a very, very different price for a 10th ounce than there is for a 1 ounce, or a 20th ounce, or a gram. They're not interchangeable. They have no fungibility.
Or if it has an eagle stamp on it
Mhm.
versus a maple leaf. Or,
Sure.
yeah.
Depending on who issued it, they all have different values. Why do they all have different values? Because there's different systems that you're trusting in, and there's different market value. It's sort of like with this fiat. Okay, we were just saying this has no intrinsic value, but it does have a utility value. This has a utility value and an intrinsic value. So both of those go into this exchange rate. Its intrinsic value affects it, yes, but also its marketability. What are people actually exchanging these for? And so when you go out tomorrow, as I hope you all will, I'm going to teach you how to spend them. When you spend them, it is fairly likely, though not required, that the merchant who's accepting this as payment is going to accept it for whatever the posted exchange rate is. because that's its actual market value as a medium of exchange. This is why Bryson was bringing up that whole vehicle analogy. The difference is that just like a car isn't just a lump of steel, it's a vehicle. It'll get you somewhere. Same thing with the Goldbacks. The form creates a vehicle that allows them to circulate in commerce and get you somewhere. So, in fact, let's do this right now, because I've talked enough about the theory of money, even though I have other slides prepared to talk about that, is how do you actually use it? The way you're going to want to use it is in a transaction is you've got to know that exchange rate. And I know that probably some people, at least the kids, are probably going, well, if there's an exchange rate, what's it worth? That was one of the questions we had. Well, just telling you each one's worth $3.91 doesn't really help you when you're making a transaction unless you can do the math really fast. And, you know, your average clerk doesn't do the math really fast. So this will do the math for you. So, I don't know, somebody throw out a random amount of money.
$30.25.
Okay, I'm going to take $30.25 from the crowd. And that makes 8 Goldbacks. Now, because a Goldback is worth $3.91, 8 Goldbacks is rounded up to the whole Goldback to pay off your purchase. When you actually pay, it may change. So down here we have it in change. You know, here's a good way to remember. If it's in black and gold, it's about the Goldback. If it's in green, it's about the green stuff, the greenback, the US dollar. So this is the US dollar price. This is the Goldback section, and then it'll even it out with dollars. So right now, 30.25, 30.25. That's how much is owed. But how much did they actually pay you? What if they actually pay you 8 Goldbacks? Then you would have overpaid by $1.03. And so you could get that as change. So $1.03. Now, of course, if you're using a Goldback
with 7 Goldbacks and a little bit of green.
True. Let's say you go in there. Right. Actually, this is really important for our scavenger hunt. Let's say you're out there on the scavenger hunt. You only have the 4 Goldbacks that I'm sending with you, and you want to buy something that's $30.25. You can give them the 4 Goldbacks and then pay them an additional $14.61 on the MasterCard or whatever, right? And then that evens out the amounts, and so it'll do the math for you. It's multiplication and division, but who wants to do multiplication and division that's that long in their head? You know, easier to have a calculator. So who here has a smartphone? All right. I said, who here has a smartphone? Why don't you pull out your smartphone and go to the internet right now? Once you pull up your browser, type goldback.com.
I just want to get the app.
Right? So we're going to make a downloadable app. The downloadable app, however, seems to be more than just a calculator. Everybody for the downloadable app wants to have their gold holdings denominated. So the purpose of the app is going to be to coordinate with an organization called the United Precious Metals Association. You can have what's very similar to a savings account denominated in Goldbacks. And then the app is going to be your online banking portal. So it'll be more than just a calculator. So go to goldback.com. Do you see the same thing? Okay. Now here at the top, you see my little finger on there? Go to calculator. There's a little calculator button.
On the mobile, it's.
You have to click menu and then.
You don't have to click
You can also
menu
do
on the
forward
mobile
slash
version, yes.
help if you want.
Or you could type it in there. And then bam, that'll pull that up. That's what you're going to want to know how to do. So what I want to do is, this is going to be a scavenger hunt. We've got, okay, it might be your internet connection because we're trying. Maybe we crashed the website. It's not a service. No, I don't think it was. There's not enough people in the room to make that a problem. You know, not that way. But now you know how to get to it. So what are you going to do? We're going to make this a fun contest, right? So what we want you to do is you're going to take your 4 Goldbacks that you're getting. Anybody who put down the $15 deposit can get the 4 Goldbacks, which, by the way,
We'll be able to do that afterwards.
we can do that afterward. And of course, I also have more Goldbacks here for sale. If anybody has cash or whatever that they want to turn it into, I'll take Venmo too. That they want to turn into gold. I think it's a good time. Right now, gold is a bit high, but I just don't see it going lower. Right. I mean, even if it goes down by a penny, it's not going down by much, and then it's going to go up a lot more than it's going to go down. So that's basically what I'm expecting in the next few weeks. Is that the exchange rate on a Goldback has never gone over $4. I expect that'll happen this month. I expect that'll probably happen this month.
That's a good thing though, right?
It's a good thing for you if you have Goldbacks. It's a terrible thing if you have dollars. If you have dollars, it means you're getting robbed. You might think you still have the same amount of money, but you don't, because you don't have the same buying power.
We have an account.
Oh, do you? Okay, cool. So turn some of it into, make sure that you put some of your paper dollars into gold.
So I tried to buy a gold coin. It was $18.20 at checkout, but it was $179 markup. If they don't sell it at cost.
Right, that's the premium.
And I was like, oh, that's almost 2,000 now. And now it's over 2,000, so it's even more, I'm sure.
Yep. So here's the thing about what he's talking about there. That's what's called a premium. Whenever you buy a gold coin, you're going to buy it at one price. You sell that gold coin because you want to actually make purchases. You can't actually spend a gold coin. You have to sell it for a lower price. And then the trick is to buy it for the higher price and wait long enough for the lower price to go past that higher price. All that basically means is you spent money in order to save money, and so you're going to lose less money later if inflation's even worse than the money that you spent. That's all that really means. Now, the nice thing with a Goldback that's very, very different is because we have this posted exchange rate and there are actual market values for this, you really don't have to think about a premium at all. If you were to buy a pile of Goldbacks for $3.91 each, and then go spend them, and you get $3.91 when you spent it, you haven't lost anything. And so I try to use the term exchange rather than buy. You don't buy Goldbacks.
Yeah, there's no sales tax.
There's no sale, and there's no sales tax. I'm not selling Goldbacks. You're simply exchanging one form of money for another form, a fiat form for a gold form.
Like getting 4 quarters for a dollar.
It's like getting 4 quarters for $1 or 4 fives for 20. Exactly. Press
Yeah,
that in.
and you can always trade the Goldback back for dollars, either through Goldback or anybody
Sure.
in the network. I would gladly give you cash for your Goldback. My business.
Yep.
And
Or
there's
any
lots-
business takes them.
anybody takes them, because we know the value of it.
Yep. Now I want to get into the pitch. Are we getting into the pitch? Because I'm just showing more hands now.
That'd be great.
Bryson?
Hey, just real quick, there's a little asterisk next to Goldback exchange rate. We talked about how the exchange rate on the front page was the average.
Right.
There is some negotiability to this. If you were wanting to use, $3.66 or $4 or whatever, you
Yep.
can change that. You don't have to, it doesn't have to stay like that.
Make an offer, huh?
You can just change it. Yep.
That's neat.
Because after all, again, we aren't dictating what they're worth.
Yeah.
They're worth something, and the market will decide what they're worth.
But if you buy Goldbacks and then later when they're worth more of US currency, then it'll be the same value, just a different amount of dollars.
Right.
It's not like your
Right.
Goldbacks are becoming more valuable.
Your Goldbacks aren't necessarily becoming more valuable when the price goes up. Dollars are just becoming more less. So that's really the mind.
Unless the
Switch.
gold supply drops, then they do actually have a mechanism.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, we have to have a measure of value. That's one of the primary functions of money is that measure of value I mentioned, right? It's really, really hard to figure out what something is worth, what anything is worth. This is why it's all about the market, right? And yet I've been switching my way of thinking. Instead of thinking in dollars, if I say, oh, $1 million, oh, that's a lot of money. But is it? Will it be in a year? Will it be in 10 years? $1 million might not be worth lunch if we're not careful. The same way it's happened to other currencies, right? And so you think, when I say $1,000, your brain, before I'm even done speaking, already calculates, I think I know what that's worth. I think I know what that value is, right? But the thing is that in unstable times, like we're having right now, all of those perceptions really get called into question. And so I'm thinking more and more in Goldbacks, where it's like, well, what can I get for my Goldbacks? That's more stable, but you're right. Even that can fluctuate, Maureen.
Okay, so I noticed in the Goldback certificate on the top, it says Utah.
Yes, these are
And-
Utah Goldbacks, but that's not the only kind.
So I saw that there was reference to Nevada and New Hampshire and I don't know if there's other states, but is somebody, the fact that says Utah on it, does it mean they can only be spent in Utah?
No, that's a great question because people are like, well, if you can only spend them in Utah, what if I go on a trip? The nice thing is they're gold. They're actually valuable anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe. They're still gold. I would prefer to think of it more like the state quarters. If somebody were to give you a Louisiana quarter, no, but I'm in Utah. No, it's just a different style. It's still a quarter, right? It's the same thing with the Goldback. The nice thing is that if there is a denomination in your state, such as in Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, and New Hampshire, then it's worth. Then they recognize it as legal tender in that state, right? And so some states might not have a law that recognizes it. I really do not want to answer any more questions. Can I skip your question, please? I really need to get to the next part of this presentation. You'll be here all night, which is fun, right? But you know, you guys don't want to stay here all night. And we're already at about an hour in, and I want to send you guys off with your questions answered so that we can do the scavenger hunt. So let's focus on the scavenger hunt. Okay. You guys all got a little info card, right? It answers some basic questions about the Goldback. One of the reasons why I said maybe take two is that it may be that when you go do the scavenger hunt, the business owner that you approach to ask them if they will take Goldbacks is going to be like, yeah, but what are these, right? They're still very new. And so they might want to know the answers that are going to be on this card. So feel free to take one if you need, or several if you need. So what are you going to do? How does this work? Gee, I should almost like role play this with somebody.
Aren't there companies though that?
There are, in
that
fact.
are familiar with this stuff, so we don't have to, if there's a
That's
line
true.
behind us, like, you know,
Right.
explain it to us.
Explain it to me. Here's the other thing too. You're going to want to avoid, for the purposes of scavenger hunt or for the purposes of any local currency, you're going to want to avoid a business that is not a Utah business, or at least a Utah, Nevada, Wyoming business. For example, say Walmart. Walmart has some clerk who not only can't answer your questions, they just can't take them and they just don't know the difference. You could walk in there and say, I will give you keys to my brand new Maserati for 50 cents of bubble gum. And they couldn't say yes. They have no authority to do it. It doesn't matter how much it's worth. Doesn't matter what it is. They only can do what they've specifically been instructed to do. So you have to talk to
Yeah, however, a
a smart
smart person at Walmart
person would
dig in their
just
wallet.
buy it. Be like, oh yeah, sure, but that would be them stepping in, and your average kid, they don't know it. I saw a funny little YouTube video. A guy took one of those gold coins from the U.S. Mint to Taco Bell, and he ordered a couple of meals. And he said, hey, do you guys take the $50 gold piece? And he thought for sure that the clerk would just be like, oh yeah, sure, and make him change for $50, even though they're worth 2,000 or more. And the girl was like, I don't know. My boss hasn't told me what to do with that. Maybe could you just pay a different way? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he pays with the card. And then he walks out from taking the YouTube video. He's like, oh man, my heart stopped. I thought for sure she was going to say yes. Thank goodness she didn't. Do you know what I mean? That would have been the most expensive lunch I've ever had. You know what I mean? So yeah, my point is that you're going to want to go to a business where you can speak to a decider, an owner of the business, a small business, a local business, because a local business is going to want to circulate local money. Whereas something international or whatever, they don't know what to do with it. Now, you're bringing up another interesting point. If you're on the Goldback website and you're in the menu and you look for featured businesses under the About tab, you can find a map of Utah businesses, even New Hampshire businesses. And you pull that up and look at that. Here's a handy map of Utah County and all the businesses that have already said that they want to advertise with us and they want us to put a little pin on the map that sends people to their business.
We should do our business there.
So yeah,
We could
Turn
change
some of
that.
your cash into goldbacks. Do your business at these places, and what does it do? Strengthens the local economy, promotes sound money. Let's just pick one of these. Yeah, this one's fun. They do all kinds of power tools. Duke legs. Let's see here. Where are they? About down here-ish? Nope, that's a water. CBD. They're in here somewhere. Center in Geneva. All right, that's this area, right? Clegg's Car Care. Wouldn't you know it? We went there. We even made a little video, which was fun. That Charlotte is in. You know, I could probably pull that up.
You go get your oil change.
If you go to YouTube and you find our Goldback channel.
Yeah, I don't either.
Click on video. Yeah, about.
Sorry.
Don't you want us to go to businesses that don't accept it? I mean, they
Yes.
have it-
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's two ways that you can win this contest, and there are two prizes. First of all, you can sign up a business that is not already on my map. If you find a new business and they say, oh yeah, we'll totally take these in the future, and you give me their contact info and I call them up on Saturday and I say, hey, can we put a pin on the map for you? And they say yes, you can win 30 Goldbacks. That is the equivalent of over $100. If you bring in the coolest thing that anybody buys with Goldbacks, you can win 30 Goldbacks.
That's decided by you.
What's the coolest thing?
Yeah,
What is
You'll
the
be
coolest
judge.
thing?
Oh, I get you.
So yes, we're gonna do a show and tell. It will be arbitrary. Actually, maybe we should get a couple of. You know, the problem is that you're all participating. We need somebody who's not participating. You know what, Bryson. Bryson's the judge, not me. You could be a judge. Maybe we could have 3, or we could vote. We're gonna do a show and tell. We're gonna do that on Saturday at 6:30. This Saturday at 6:30. You can this week by Zoom.
Everybody gets one vote, you can't vote for yourself.
Everyone gets one vote. You can't vote for yourself. I like these rules. That sounds fun.
The best part.
Or your immediate family.
Okay, how about this? How about this? Everyone gets one vote, but you can vote for yourself.
Okay.
Everyone gets one vote. Okay. And then what happens? So don't vote for yourself if you really think somebody has something cool, right?
Yeah, 'cause then
Now the show and tell will be by Zoom, so you do not have to be present to win. We will make sure that the money gets to you. Well, I will give you the gold.
Or you can come in person.
Or you can come in person too.
So just come here.
Yes.
Yes.
Saturday night, same time.
Saturday night at 6:30, with whatever you bought with your Goldbacks.
Or a picture. if
Or
it's
a picture. Maybe it's
consumable.
consumable. Maybe you get ice cream.
Or you got your oil change.
Or you get your oil changed in your car.
And show your receipt too.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting? You know, the receipt won't say Goldbacks probably, right? Because they don't have that integrated into the system. It'll still be a dollar amount. But yeah, I
They
just,
ask for just like a handwritten receipt.
We can put GB on there.
So that we know that it's not just something from somebody's house.
It's an honor.
oh, well, it's an honor system. It's an honor system. Here's another thing that might be fun about it being just something from somebody's house. Do you know what happens between now and Saturday evening?
No.
Lots of yard sales.
Oh, really?
That might be a really fun place to go spend your Goldback.
I don't
Yes.
just wanna, I'm not just curious to see what people get, I wanna hear the cool stories.
Yeah, the stories of what happened, right? Now, here we go. Here's a video for you guys. Uh-oh. No sound?
We're one of those gold you can spend. And we're gonna show you someone doing just that.
Never seen this?
Here we go. Our local famous movie star. You can get her autograph after.
Oh, Rose Simmons?
Yeah.
This is your.
Oh, and Ray.
And
Ray.
Belly. Checked out by a mechanic. Clicks is a locally owned and operated mechanic shop. They check out the band, top off the oil, and it's good to go. So now it's time for me. She asked them. They said yes to accepting Goldbacks. So they checked the current average retail price for Goldbacks, so she knows how much to pay them. But basically, it's about 15.
So our problem was we didn't have a calculator yet at this point, so we were just using our.
That's some greenbacks. This can be found on the front page of goldback.com. Now she's good to go, and it's time to go buy the van. For a list of retailers who officially take Goldbacks.
Wasn't that cute?
Goldback.com.
All right.
So
So was baby Rafe in the belly.
And the van's parked in the driveway, we're gonna need to buy the van, so
We really did buy that.
Yep.
we outgrew her.
So that's how Clegg's got on this map. And it, like I said, if
So
you
I
can
wanna-
get someone on the map, I
wanna
can.
clarify something
yeah.
though. So you can get a merchant to just one time take your money one time.
Sure.
That's fine, but they can also sign up to be permanent as far as
Yeah,
on the
featured.
map. Yeah, so they don't have to decide to do it permanently, they can just,
And it-
They can just take it for one day.
and
yeah.
it's kind of crazy, this is an objection. What am I gonna do if I'm taking all Goldbacks and I need dollars? They're not gonna have,
Right. A lot of, so that's why I was saying we should probably do some role play,
yeah.
right? One of the common questions is, wait a second, if I sign up to take Goldbacks, what happens what happens with my suppliers? Clegg's Car Care, for example, has to buy their oil from somebody.
Yeah.
And that's an international marketplace. That's not a local thing. What do? Well, for good or ill, Goldbacks in circulation are only about $20 million worth. Compare that to the entire global economy. It is an insignificant portion of the entire global economy, as yet. They will have plenty of other sources of dollars that they can then spend for those things. So the first thing I do is I assure them, actually, most businesses have the opposite problem. They want more Goldbacks to protect their assets with, and they can't get enough. So more businesses are offering a discount because they want more Goldbacks, not that they have too many. Or you could say it in a joking way, which is, have you ever known it to be a problem when somebody had too much gold? You know? It's like, oh man, I'm just so stinking rich, I just don't know what to do with it. You know? So that's one thing. But a lot of times they'll be worried about that. They'll say, can I take it to the bank? No, you can't take it to a bank, but you can take it to the United Precious Metals Association. You can take it to Goldback. You can take it to any of these other vendors that use it. I don't know if you'll remember this, but I usually say there's 4 things you can do with the Goldbacks once you receive them in payment. You can spend them. There's plenty of other businesses that will take them. You can save them. Well, your savings are a lot safer in gold than they are in dollars. You can exchange them with us for their value by us giving you dollars back. That's probably my least favorite. You know, but it's a possibility. You know, or any you can do any of those things with them. So they keep their value for a long time. Here's the other thing too that's nice to think about that I want to run by you. You're only paying $15 for 4 Goldbacks. You're getting them for less than the exchange rate. I will actually do that for you for a lot more Goldbacks than 4, if you want to, and you'll be, yeah, but tonight only from me. But if you go into Alpine Gold or one of these other gold sellers, oftentimes you can buy Goldbacks for less than their exchange rate, and you spend them at the exchange rate. Which means if you actually make a habit of this, and you turn a couple $100 every month into Goldbacks, sure, you can save them, because then you won't lose your value. But you can also, when you're spending them, you're actually getting a small discount from most places that accept that.
Totally different question. Do you have any idea what the lifespan of a Goldback is? Like, how many times is it going to be folded up and spent before it's worn out?
So I guess the thing with that is it can get ugly a long time before it gets worthless.
Right.
Okay. Right now, they've only existed for about 2 years. So all of our stress tests have only occurred over the last 2 years. So how long will they last?
So you don't have a machine doing this and you're
Beating it up? No, but we do have some fans who've done some pretty weird things. One guy took one of the very first run of Goldbacks. So it should be worth something more for collector's value. It was like, it was within the first week they were created. And he took one of those first Goldbacks and he crumpled it up. And he said, I made a point of crumpling it up every day and then flattening it out every single day. And he gouged it with a knife at one point to see if it would cut easily. It doesn't cut very easily. He tried to rip it. It deformed it slightly. Him trying to rip it regularly, it does not rip. He washed it in his washing machine in the pocket of his pants, and he kept it loose in the pocket of his pants with a bunch of other change, just wear and tear on the thing for about 2 years. And he showed it to me, and it looked like he'd been through it. Let me tell you. But guess what? I would still have accepted it for its full value, because the only thing that was really, really damaged was the outside protective layer of polymer. The gold inside it was still in there. And it was still legible enough to tell that it was a Goldback, to tell that it was a real Goldback, to tell that it had a 1/1000th of a troy ounce of pure gold in it. I was like, yeah, no, I'll take it. In fact, I even offered him. I was like, do you want a new one? You know? And he was like, no, I'm just going to keep wearing this one out. Check with me next year and see what it looks like then. So they're pretty durable. They're pretty durable.
Really quick.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to go like to a food place, how would I find out where the food places are that they go back?
Oh, okay.
Like,
Right. If you're using the website to try to find a place instead of just finding a new place.
yeah, instead of just like finding a pin on the map and trying to figure out which one. it
Right.
is.
There's a search function.
And
Search.
tags.
There's also tags.
Oh, and categories.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, let's hit tags. Here's some tags.
Food and drink. right beside it.
Yeah. So
Halfway down.
Yeah.
this one says food. Sometimes
The one on
there's
the other side says
multiples.
food and drink, it has-
There's food and drink.
I think it's when you scroll down.
Now some of these are going to be all kinds of other things.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you can see the
Freeze-dried
full list of
candy.
them.
That's fun. Oh yeah, but if you scroll down,
You
it'll
can
show
see
you a
them all.
list. So let's say what you're looking for is Hawaiian food, the Hungry Hawaiian, or Dazzle frozen yogurt, or Walk the Line. I like Walk the Line, by the way. They're a good one.
Functional medicine doctor. He's got, like,
Because
all the tags.
he's got a bunch of tags, and it's because this doctor actually grows his own herbal remedies from seed to patient delivery.
Wow.
So I was like, what do we do? And he's like, it's functional medicine. It's not just any medicine. And I've got this whole program where I help you change your life. Slice of pizza, honey, under wrap sushi. If you want really good Japanese food, but be expected to pay for really good Japanese food. They take Goldback
So
stuff.
you would expect to be able to walk into under wrap sushi and just pay with gold.
I have done that. I walk in and I tell them, hey, just to let you know, I want to pay Goldbacks today. And the only response I've gotten at under wrap sushi is, oh, that's great. No problem.
That's the kind of response I want.
That's the kind of response we want. It's not always the,
I don't want to
How
have
is
to
it?
explain it.
it's not always the response you get, and that's why I was saying take a card with you. It'll help you explain. And hey, there's 30 Goldbacks. That's like 100 and how many dollars? You know, if you get 3 businesses signed up,
Now, are you
Okay.
saying everyone or just the one who does the best business?
this could get expensive for me very fast. I'll admit, I was thinking, yeah, totally, I'm ready to do it
I
for
was saying,
one.
I didn't get that much gold. for
Yeah, don't
signing up
think
for
about
it.
this. Don't think about it.
Just say yes.
Just make your company really like you, or just like.
How about this? The first one gets 30. The second person to sign up a business gets 20. The third gets 10, and everybody after that still gets 10 Goldbacks.
How do you know? who
If
the
you
first
are
person
person number 1 and person number 2 and person number 3,
Whoa.
you still get all the
So
Goldbacks.
we all need your
Text you,
phone
right?
number.
Yes.
So we're telling you when we've signed something.
Yes, and that's the thing. It doesn't count for signing up the business until I put them on the map. Okay? So that might take me, but I will pay you.
Maybe a couple of years from now.
No, it won't. Oh, no, if it takes a couple of years, I won't pay you. It's only if they signed up because of you. And if it takes them 3 years, they will have signed up for some other reason. If they say, yes, we want to sign up to accept the Goldbacks, that's good enough for
You're
me.
saying-
I will call them and get their info. I'll put them on the map, and I will make sure that here at this house, there are Goldbacks with your name on them. You can pick up anytime.
So you're saying that,
Sorry. Mhm.
that it's anytime between now and.
During the
and
contest, yeah.
Saturday, so it's not when we arrive on Saturday, it's the first person, it's not that, it's.
Correct. Anytime between now and Saturday. So yeah, you could be more likely to be the first person if you get a business to sign up tonight
And text you or call you.
and text me. Which reminds me, you just said, what about your contact info? Oh, and wouldn't you know it?
Is that a texting
That's
number?
that's the main one. Let's give you my texting number. There we go. Text me on that number. And that's the number you have, Jordan. You don't have to take a picture of this. You call me on that number all the time.
You said texting number.
Yeah, okay, fine.
You know this.
I was like, I know, but you called me yesterday, man.
So
Yes, sir.
you have on these, on the pin, there's blue pins and yellow pins. Are the yellow pins money exchange?
Yellow pins are, the golden pins are money exchanges. Places where you can exchange your goldbacks for dollars or dollars for gold.
Oh, really? That's neat.
Yeah, there's a place in, Provo, I think it was? No, it's, West Jordan.
There is a
South
place,
South Jordan.
actually Alpine Gold where I actually work is golden as well. One of the things that can be tricky is that sometimes they'll overlap each other. So there's a place in St. George, but you can't see it right now until you zoom in because the other pins are over that pin. So for example, there we go. Now the gold pin is coming to the fore. Now you can see it. That's an exchange. So there's some of that goes on with the map. You don't always necessarily see it when you zoom in. Okay, so again, 2 ways to get free gold backs. Sign up a business. You will always get at least 10. Believe me, I think that would be really cool. If we send up like 10 businesses, that'd be awesome. Then, yeah, it would be a stretch, but I will pay everybody 10 for every time you get one. I will pay you another 10. But the first one gets 30, the second one gets 20, everyone thereafter gets 10. Or find the coolest thing. Garage sales wouldn't be terrible for that. Antique stores. Oh, speaking of antique stores, Confetti Antiques and Books. One of the best places to get old LDS books is on the list. So, you know, go to Spanish Fork and go to Confetti. And that is not against the rules. Totally. So let's see if I can find them. But yeah, they're on the list. Confetti Antiques and Books?
Is that Two Jack's Pizza?
No.
Oh, right there.
No, it was.
Two Jacks is not on here. There's a pet store.
Yeah, we said it's Two Jack's. Two Jack's Pizza is great.
Oh, yeah. But no, sign up to Jack's Pizza, 30 goldbacks for you, right? If you're the first. At least 10.
Organize a little thing where one person walks in, gets turned down, the next person comes in. By the time the third person walks in, like, what's going on with these goldbacks?
Honestly, that is not a bad idea either. You know, I think this will be especially funny if you get a negative reaction. And there are people who do give negative reactions. I think that this is the coolest thing since sliced bread. I mean, it literally is like another step in the whole evolution of money. But some people are just scared of anything new and strange. And this looks new and strange to some people. And so I've had people recoil. Do you know what I mean? Like you show them, they're like, hey, how about some local currency from real gold? They'll be like, I don't know. You know what I mean? They're like, they're nervous about it. Now, or even angry. They'll be like, but I support the IRS. Could this undermine the Federal Reserve? I love that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, really?
No, it's helping them out.
This can help them. This provides a market alternative so that they can learn how to do their job better. You know? So, okay. Well, anyway. So, but at the very least, there will be people who will say no. Okay, there will be people who don't like it. Those are the funnest people to send another buddy in later. And this is what you do too. If you know you come in and you're like, so I want to pay in goldbacks. Do you accept the goldbacks? Have the next person, if they've got a negative reaction, go in there and be like, hey, I want to know, do you accept goldbacks? Before I check out, do you accept goldbacks? And I'm gonna be like, no, we don't. Somebody else already asked that. We don't do that. Be like, oh, sorry, I guess I'm not shopping today.
I want to say though, I've tried to spend gold lots of places. I've never been treated rude. People are usually very curious and they want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, and once they see them, they're beautiful designs. Most people are like, oh, let me see those.
The lady at the coffee store was like, I want to wallpaper my wall.
Yeah, right, because that would be a little too much bling for most people, but you know.
Hey, this won't help you with the scavenger hunt unless you're trying to buy smiles, but the easiest way to spend goldbacks and to get the word out is tipping. Because you just give somebody the choice between Federal Reserve notes and gold, and they'll usually take gold like 98% of the time in my case. And then it's so fun because they're in the back and they're like showing all their friends and stuff. It's just like, that's never happened with a dollar. So,
Yep. And you know that is one last thing that a business can do with goldbacks. If they don't want to spend them in the network, they don't want to save any, they love the dollars so much, they just want to get rid of their gold. They don't want to have the bother of going to us to give them dollars for their gold backs. They can give them out as change. If you ask a customer, hey, do you want your change in paper or in gold?
Gold.
I'd volunteer to take the gold. And a lot of people will. And that's when your success rate goes up from maybe 50% to 90%.
You know what happened at Clegg's when I paid that
Uh-huh.
day with gold? None of it made it into the till.
Everyone's like, I want
all the
that.
employees were like, I'll take
I
that,
want
yeah.
that.
Take
Yeah.
my green and put it in the till.
Yeah, I'll take the
Yeah.
gold. Yeah, and then just trade it out. And so it's gone like that, from the business. So,
Oh, just one thing, I've only actually successfully spent gold backs once.
okay.
But one thing is like, you don't ask, do you take gold backs? Because like, what are gold backs? You say, do you take gold? Would you accept?
Keep it
payment in
simple.
gold?
that's- yeah.
Would you accept payment in gold?
And then if they say, maybe, and then you.
Maybe, and then you'll be like,
Good
well,
point, good
let
point.
me show you this little card. I have these gold backs. We're on a scavenger hunt. We're trying to find out what businesses want to accept payment in gold. There's nothing offensive about that. They might say yes, they might say no, but
Especially if you talk to the manager.
you need to talk to a manager or an owner. You really do.
Yeah,
clerk doesn't have the
you get
authority.
a registered person, right, cashier.
Oh, yep.
And then you get to talk to the
Yeah, unless, well, even the cashier could say, I'll take it, I'll just pay out of the till. I want that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, one of the other things, you're in the role playing thing.
Mhm.
How do I know this is legit? How do I even know that this is like, really gold or like some scam, right?
Right. How do I know this is really gold? This is actually that's actually one of the biggest problems in gold. We were talking about those gold coins and how much they're worth. But if you just walk into a shop with a real gold coin, they can't verify that very easily.
Oh, that's right.
And there are counterfeit gold and silver coins out there. There's so many of them.
Yep.
People come in to our shop to buy gold, and we do accept all forms of payment, all forms of payment. So sometimes people will turn a bunch of their silver holdings into gold backs. We find fake coins all the time. They thought they were legit. They look legit. They look really good. Sometimes you can even put them on the spectrometer. Those cost thousands of dollars sometimes to get a decent spectrometer to try to find out if it's real silver, and it'll even register as real silver. But it'll have something else in between.
Yeah.
Can't you just bite it?
Understand what it goes in.
No, it's
in the movie.
that's what they do in the movies. Now, if it was a real gold coin, it sometimes can leave a mark because gold is quite soft. That's one of the reasons why these are so bendy. But yeah, it's really hard to verify. It's terrifyingly hard to verify. That's really the main reason why this vehicle is so powerful. Is that, again, it's hard if it's their very first time seeing one. But once you've seen them, once you've held them in your hand, you'll never be fooled by any attempt at making a fake. There's no credible fakes out there, not even close. It's basically it's a verified amount. I guess the basic answer I want to give anybody who asks is, don't ask me. The only reason you're asking is because you're questioning me telling you. Get out your smartphone, look it up. Just type Goldback into a search bar, and you're gonna see a bajillion results that are gonna be legit. So first thing, what am I seeing when I do my search? Look at that. I can see places to buy them. In stock now from Finest Known, Amex, Goldbacks for sale. What are Goldbacks? If they trust any of these, government.com, okay? They sell only legal tender currency. Their whole brand is that they're associated with government mints. And you open it up and look, they guarantee them. Now, here's the thing. Oh my goodness.
That's expensive.
$6.95? Now that's over the average exchange rate. And I'll sell them to you for under the average exchange rate, but that's why it's an average.
People selling for
Different people
$10
sell them for
anyway.
things.
Yeah.
And people, secondary market like eBay, people sell them for 10 or 15 bucks and they sell anyway, because they're still gold. And people are like, man, I want a cool little piece of gold. And you know what they're thinking? They're thinking 20 bucks and I get real gold. I've never seen something as cheap as 20 bucks that's real gold. And they're not kidding. These are the cheapest way to buy gold in any increment you want.
Yeah.
So even then, it's like, have they been ripped off? Yeah, maybe. Depends on how much longer 20 bucks is worth a whole gold back. We'll have to see. Now, right now, yeah, they could have gotten 4 of them, or 5, or 5 and a little bit. But if they bought them from me, But even then, the dollar will eventually go down,
So
right?
are there any businesses in Nevada that take it, but it's just not on the map yet?
We haven't launched the map yet. That's mostly because we need more businesses in northern Nevada and Reno area. Right now, I've only got like 2 Reno businesses that are signed up. And so I need to go out there on a trip and sign up businesses, which is basically what you guys will be doing. And then it'll look better. We didn't want to launch the map until we have full coverage, where you can buy something everywhere in the state.
Right.
Otherwise, it just looks like, local adoption only. It doesn't.
I'll tell you what,
Forward
you've
cost.
been busy, because I checked this website map a year ago, and there was a third of that as many.
Oh, yeah.
pins.
There's over 200 pins in the Utah map. A place you can spend the Goldbacks.
Yeah, I buy my silver at a place in West Valley called Cascade Refinery, and they buy Goldbacks.
Yeah.
I don't know if they sell them, but they'll definitely.
Well, if they buy them, they'll probably sell them to you too,
Oh, yeah.
but for a profit, right?
Yeah, they probably
That's-
buy them for less, I don't know.
But yeah, so that's what I'd do, is I'd just be like, don't ask me if someone says, how do I know this is really gold? Say, pull out your smartphone, type in Goldbacks, just see what's out there. You'll see plenty of places verifying it, explaining it, selling it, things like that. And hey, they can watch videos. And we've made some of these other videos.
We can show them our this video, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just show them the video of Charlotte.
Yeah, for Charlotte.
This is 1 ounce of 24-karat gold, broken down into gold bags. We've got 50s, the 25s, the 10s, 5s, 1s. If you add them all up, you get to 1 ounce of gold. Now, this is also 1 troy ounce of 24-karat gold. It's a gold buffalo. Very cool coin here. If you wanted to spend gold, to use gold as a currency, which would be easier, this gold coin or all of these gold backs? I think it's pretty easy to see the gold backs win in a barter situation. I can break them down way more times than I can this gold coin. But the question a lot of people have is, how do you know that the gold is in the gold backs? The company that makes these is called Valorum, and I thought it best that the president and founder, Adam Drexler, actually talk about them and give you the answer himself. And I'll just say, the testing that they do is quite amazing. My name is Adam Drexler, founder and president of Goldback.
Let's put in the logo here.
So when we talk about the gold and the goldback, I'm always asked, how do I know that the gold is there? The answer starts with the underlying technology where we're building up the thin layer of gold, atom by atom, very precisely controlled. As we're doing it, as we're making multiple passes and building up those gold atoms, we are constantly checking thickness as that process goes. Then, after we're done, we shoot an X-ray all the way through the gold, and we're able to check both purity and the thickness and verify that the batch is good. From there, we do another quality control check, and we do a fire instead of bills, where we actually melt the gold down, cover it, and weigh it precisely. And that becomes the basis for establishing that every production of gold has that amount of gold. Our final check, we regularly check our own test methods against ISO certified processes and using COMEX certified independent laboratories where they recover the gold themselves from the Goldback and verify its cost. And that 4-stage process is how we have every Goldback reaches the consumer with precise amount. If I were in a barter situation, I would much rather accept the gold backs than gold coins or gold bars. These take a lot of knowledge and equipment to be able to test and verify that they're real and authentic. And there are a lot of counterfeit gold coins and counterfeit gold bars on the market. So the question now becomes, how hard is it to counterfeit a gold bag? Are there any fake gold bags floating around out there? The Goldback has numerous anti-counterfeiting features built into it. Most of them, if you look at this technique, are embedded in the very way that we print. So it might look like a recurring pattern, but all of these features, from the background of the sky, this strip here, the border, the fine mesh underlying this, are all very complicated crystallizations and tessellations that are used by governments in currency to assure difficulty. That's not all of them. The reverse of this pattern and the built-in textures that you can see on the reverse are all an atomic deposition of gold, so that the actual gold is structured with those complex patterns built into them, including the serial number. That patented government level security is extraordinarily difficult to counterfeit. You would need programs that the public doesn't have access to. You would need tremendous capital to deposit gold. You would then need to have formula, and then you would need to be able to put it together in a package. And we strongly believe that this is the most difficult to counterfeit product. The bottom line is that you can trust the Goldback. It is the real deal. And if you want to use physical gold as a currency, there's nothing like it. Now, we actually did just post a video showing how you can spend the Goldbacks right now. If you missed that video, definitely go check it out.
Anyways, I can show them something like this. And that is one of the funnest things to me, is that reverse image. Here's the thing that he didn't mention. This feels the same to a blind man as a $100 bill. Even a blind man can tell if this is a real Goldback or not. Not only because it has the texture, but because they're different sizes and different weights. If you feel a 25 in one hand and a 1 in the other, there's no comparison in the thickness and the weight of these. You can tell that it is a different amount of gold. And so, you know, if someone were to try to counterfeit these, for example, they would be trying to print something that looks the same. Would it feel the same? No. You could tell right off the bat that this is heavier than that. And people say, well, what about the way they counterfeit gold coins? Is that they put something heavy inside that is not gold or silver. They put steel or something in there. In this case, you can't hide anything in there. There's just no room. They're too thin. You can actually see the surface of the gold itself. Whereas, you know, with a coin, you can't see the entire amount of the gold. It's inside the coin. This is all exteriorly visible. So I hope that helps a little bit. I don't want everybody to give up and go away without getting their Goldbacks, though. So let's wrap it up and get you guys some Goldbacks. And like I said, if you do the $15 deposit, we'll give you 4 Goldbacks for the scavenger hunt. If you want to buy more, I will also sell them to you. So who's participating in the scavenger hunt and who has paid or hasn't paid? And then we